I hope you can see my screen well, and I'm really, really delighted that I can share with you today the findings of the research project that we did together with Christian Gauthier back in 2023. I feel that the both introductions of Maria-Lisa and Richard were great set of the scene for showing you these findings, because indeed why it is so important to start working on including more women in designing innovation ecosystem in Europe. You can see it very well here on those two maps. Richard already mentioned the correlation between gender equality and high level of innovation. And here on the right-hand side, you can see the JRC Female Achievement Index showing the level of gender equality in regions. Those in the light green are of a less level of gender equality. While on the right-hand side, you can see the European Innovation Scoreboard scoring it used to be regions, now the countries that are on different levels of innovation in Europe, and those that are in orange and dark orange are those that are least innovative. And you can see that those maps are matching. So there is a correlation. It is hard to say what interferes what and why, really. I already gave you a brief intro, but now you can see the colors, and actually you can really compare those two maps and see the correlation that we have here. So what we really want to do is to increase both the level of innovation and level of gender equality, because without supporting women innovators, the whole innovation ecosystem will not be full and will not be able to use the full potential. And this is the reason why EIT Food is running the programs, but also EIT Food is really making an enormous job. We've heard that there are almost 400 alumni already of the EVA program, but we've also heard that there is 20,000 of women entrepreneurs all over. So it is really crucial that we bring on the other actors to support this transition to more inclusive agri-food innovation. And this is why the guidebook was designed. Our work on creating the guidebook included the desk research to diagnose the situation of both female entrepreneurship and agri-food entrepreneurship in 15 countries across Central Eastern Europe, some from the Baltics through Visegrad countries up to the Balkans. Of course, we wouldn't be able to do it just the two of us. The fantastic team of EIT Food Risk Hubs also helped us, support us with gathering information. And that was also essential to be able to map existing programs that are supporting either female entrepreneurs or agri-food entrepreneurs in the region. We have identified 134 of set programs. And in a second, you will hear how much of them are tackling the women in agri-food specifically. It's not a high number, unfortunately, yet, but we hope that the guidebook will change it. And to complement this desk research, this quantitative data, we also interviewed 14 experts, practitioners that are deploying female entrepreneurship and agri-food entrepreneurship support programs in the region. And as also Richard has presented in his keynote speech, we know that there is a great gap in terms of funding. Women-led teams in CE are raising only 1% of the capital. And also there is a great discrepancy between number of established businesses, so those that are operating for at least 3.5 years, that are run by men and by women. There is much more men-led companies that are operating for more than 3.5 years, and the largest gender discrepancy you can see on the chart are to be seen in Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary, and Slovakia. So this is about the entrepreneurial world, about the startup ecosystem, and then there is the gender gap also in terms of agri-food sector. The data here are really an issue. We do not have much data about the gender equality in this area. There are currently several projects run also in the Horizon Europe scheme that are going to tackle this data gap. So hopefully in the future we will be able to assess it better. But for now, what we know is that female farmers are typically having much smaller farms, and they are much less represented in the agri-food workforce. So we can see that there are two gender gaps here, when the entrepreneurial gender gap and one agri-food gender gap. And this is also why we need to think about programs that are tackling those gaps in parallel. Yet, if you look at this screen, those are 134 programs that we have mapped and clustered into 5 different areas. Only 10 out of 134 are tackling women in agri-food specifically. The majority of them are actually incubators, accelerators that are giving the full scope of support for entrepreneurs. Most of them that we have encountered were tackling agri-food, so all the food tech accelerators, agri-tech accelerators. Only a part of them were devoted to specifically women. Women programs are usually the ones that we call capacity building programs. So this is the first figure here on the chart. Those that are giving leadership skills, soft skills, that are developing communication abilities, and less of hardcore business elements like how to generate revenue or how to attract funding. As for funding, that was apart from specifically women in agri-food programs, this cluster in which we have encountered the least number of programs, and there were banking financial support initiatives, mostly run by banks or financial institutions. And they were very limited just to providing funding without additional support and networking, mentoring, which is crucial for the women-led, but also men-led and diverse team-led businesses to thrive. And also, this is important aspect, especially for those of you who are working in the regions, in the regional agencies, local government agencies supporting innovation. There are quite a few policy instruments that are already established in Central Eastern Europe that are supporting either agri-food entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs. So if you are interested in them, please do download the guidebook, because it might be an interesting inspiration for you to see how you can include this aspect in your regional operation plans or the way you are using the cohesion funds from the EU. And I won't be going through all the success factors and barriers, because I really want you to download the guidebook. I believe it's a great document, and there's a lot of information inside, so it's better to digest it on your own pace. But I will just mention a few, and they were already mentioned also by Marilisa and Richard. In terms of female entrepreneurship support programs, crucial aspect is connection to the real world. So, of course, we know there are Mark Zuckerbergs and Jeff Bezoses of this world, but we have to show women that there are also regular female entrepreneurs that are running successful businesses, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a unicorn at the very first stage. You can just have a small business enterprise that is then developing and to become a successful startup. Or you can have an interesting idea in your lab and connect with other people and develop a startup proposition that will find investors. But it doesn't have to be groundbreaking and absolutely something that will revolutionize everything at once. Also, the community building aspect mentioned, and EVA program is a great example of how it is done, to show that there are other women that are struggling with the same challenges, juggling household duties and business development necessities at the same time. And having this community where you can share your frustrations, where you can share your successes, is extremely important. And also the flexibility of the program structure. Women are often in the position to address very unexpected situations in the family, taking care of older members of family, taking care of children. You have to be aware that not everyone can attend all events, all activities. You have to make them as flexible as possible so that women, regardless of their family situation, can join them. And of course, there are some barriers. I will also not go through all of them, but I think one which is very interesting looking at from the European level is lack of opportunities for women in rural areas and remote areas. If we compare it with Global South, for example, where usually we found European programs to be more progressive in many areas, in this aspect, in Africa or South America, we can find fantastic examples of programs that are supporting entrepreneurial skills of women in rural areas. Why this is still a big gap in our region. So I think we are here today to discuss how we can make this gap smaller and how to change this situation. We also looked into the agri-food entrepreneurship support programs, because obviously when we speak about women in agri-food and supporting their entrepreneurial skills, we cannot forget about the fact that they are changing the food system. And here's for the success factors, the diversity of the startups in the cohort was mentioned. Agri-food is a very broad area and sector, from primary production up to packaging, recycling, and retail. And most of the people we talked to said that it was really beneficial to have in a cohort both food tech and agri-tech people, as well as those women that are doing social innovations, that are doing community-led programs in the rural areas, because they can inspire themselves, one another, and it brings much better results. Also putting mentors into a spotlight, not only showing that how they can support mentees, but also giving them opportunity to network and to get benefits out of the program and become ambassadors for the future, was mentioned as very important. And what I personally liked a lot is that when talking with people that have experience in running startup acceleration programs in different sectors, they said that agri-food is very specific, because most of the people that are there are mission driven. They understand how their solutions are bringing change and making our world more sustainable. And believing in this mission, and also taking into account when designing the program, is very crucial to attract those innovators that want to make the change in our food system. Obviously, there are barriers, and those that I would like to mention is that for sure, a lot of agri-food innovators, especially scientists, are not really still understanding the startup world. They do not have the startup mindset, and it is sometimes hard for them to go through the typical acceleration programs. The fact that agri-food sector is operationally very demanding, and setting up a new business requires a lot of investment from the very beginning. You cannot make the agri-food solution out of your garage and by coding an app. You really have to have a lot of people involved, materials, side products, etc. And this aspect is a big barrier, especially for early stage startups that do not have this connection with markets. So even more in encouraging big farms, retailers to take part in such programs and provide test beds for solutions is crucial. And when we thought about like a recipe for the best supporting female entrepreneurs in agri-food program, we had to think about elements that will be tackling those three challenges that I have already mentioned. So on one hand, gender inequality, so all challenges related with being a woman in our society, the rural challenges, so all the elements that are connected with being in the rural area and also barriers that come with that, and entrepreneurial challenges. So all the elements that entrepreneurs need to face while developing their business. And out of that, we come up with key ingredients. So one is absolutely the flexibility, as you can imagine, having a program that is addressing a wide and diverse cohort of startups, including women, has to be super flexible. So blending online with offline, blending training sessions with one-to-one mentoring, the more diverse offer for the mentees, the better. Creating partnerships. I already mentioned creating partnerships with potential retailers or farms that will allow the mentees to test solutions in their premises, but also partnerships with already existing accelerators, already existing women's NGOs, or rural community organizations that will help a lot to make the program being more seen in the society and among women who would like to join it. Then the mentoring, also already mentioned in the keynote speech, without a proper mentor, both in terms of substance, so really business-oriented mentor, but also a person who will guide you and will support you with a lot of challenges that a young entrepreneur needs to face, is absolutely crucial. And then childcare, this is the aspect that sometimes we forget about when we speak about women entrepreneurs, but this is absolutely a thing that we cannot omit. And bearing in mind that women need to have space for themselves and to find this support in family duties is very important. And last but not least, funding, that I do not have to comment, I guess, after the figures you have seen during the presentation. And alumni network, so alumni that will be also ambassadors of the program in the future. But this is also this real connection with real world. So you really can see those women that succeeded and were there before. And those elements can support us with tackling the biggest gaps that we have in terms of supporting a female entrepreneurship in agri-food sector. One is data. I already mentioned that. We do not have enough data. The latest data on women in agri-food at the European level are from 2016. So this is something we're working on. And this is also affecting another gap, which is policymaking gap, because often regional officials are not willing to invest in programs that are tackling women in agri-food because they do not have baseline information, the state of art at the moment, which hinders them from showing the real impact they can make with the program. And they're not aware of how many women are there that could benefit from those solutions. So they prefer to do programs for young entrepreneurs, needs, etc. Funding as a big gap also, because women are receiving less funding, but also because agri-food and agri-tech is perceived as much more risky by investors. and the market connection, which is related with this aspect of being operationally very demanding. And having said all that, and understanding how many elements need to be taken into account to create a successful program that is supporting women and entrepreneurs in agri-food, we, together with Christian, came up with this Canva based on the business design Canva. But so you might be familiar with this approach where you go through each stage and answer a set of questions. We prepared a checklist to each element here that you can answer to see which data you have, what is the current state in your region, what is the current state in your city or rural area in terms of women in agri-food, what is the value proposition you want to bring to women, what kind of entrepreneurs do you want to address, what is the current service ecosystem setup, where you can complement it, etc., up to the impact and also spillover effects. Because supporting women entrepreneurs, as it was said before, it is not only beneficial for themselves, but it is beneficial for the whole society and for the sustainability of our food system. And I really hope that thanks to this guidebook, we will be able to see spillover effects in a lot of regions in Central Eastern Europe and beyond. And if you have any questions, please, you can either write them on the chat or here you have our email addresses, and we'll be happy to address your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aleksandra. Thanks for all the findings. Not all of them are very positive, sadly, but we're going to discuss them throughout the upcoming sessions, and hopefully we will be able to address them. What I can say from my experience of working with female entrepreneurs, some of the challenges are exactly the same in countries like Bulgaria or Romania or Ukraine, just like in Estonia, or even further afield in Western countries. So it's the positive message here is that we in Central and Eastern Europe are not alone.